how to communicate. As I said, we all communicate. I mean, we're great storytellers, aren't we? I mean, geoscientists, geologists, stories written into the rocks. We're very, very passionate about it. So what's going on? What's going wrong here? Before we get onto this, I'm going to very quickly acknowledge where I am in the world right now. I'm normally based in the UK, but right this moment, I'm in northeast Brazil, and it's getting on for 10 o'clock at night. The two people that I need people, and I'd like to acknowledge their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I think that's actually really important, and a very important part of communication too, because they have traditionally been excluded. Now, Australia is actually ahead of the curve on this, because at the start of every meeting, you do the right thing and you acknowledge those people on the land which you stand. That doesn't happen in Brazil. I lived in Brazil for 9 years, and I never heard it once at any conference or event. Okay, and I wonder why that is. Okay, so I think there is a long way to go in certain parts of the world. I think it's worth mentioning that. Okay, so as I said, if you're a GSA member, I put the QR code nice and big on the screen here. There's no excuses. Please scan it. You'll go to the GSA course page. You should have a coupon in your inbox. Just search for Practical Geocommunication in your inbox. You'll find the coupon, and you can actually do it now. I will show you this link at the end. Okay, 123 people currently enrolled. Pretty good, but I want to see at least 100 more if you could share this afterwards. Okay, it goes through a lot, and I'll show this at the end. But as I said, first principles very quickly: neurology, confronting misinformation. It's a huge issue. Many people who promulgate misinformation overtly trespass onto various specialities that we hold, and I think it's an ethical obligation that we have to stand up and challenge that. Advocacy, linguistic tools, analogies, storytelling, massive part of that too. Social media strategies, huge area. Newsflash, we shouldn't be using Twitter to reach the next generation. Okay, enough said. Geoparks and geotourism, pretty big and emerging area in especially with in Australia at the moment. Indigenous outreach is coming soon. Gamification, virtual reality, writing for the public. Those last two are modules which are on the way. Okay, so this is the situation I have here. If you go to Google Trends, you can see very clearly these trends supersede the commodity cycle. Everyone says, oh, it's just a cycle. That's just clearly since 2004. It's been a precipitous decline in all of these search terms. You can throw in anything else you want with regards to the geosciences, and it shows similar trends. So there's a gradual hemorrhaging, a gradual leak of talent away from the universities. People are just not interested anymore. If parents are not interested, they kind of guide their children to more interesting fields, and that hurts us, that hurts our societies, that hurts the planet. Okay, because we call ourselves stewards. This is not an arrogant expression, but we actually need geosciences to solve some of the major issues that we're facing as a species right now, and these trends actually harm these efforts to reach a more sustainable future. Okay, so be very clear that communication in this context will not only look great on your CV and enhance your career prospects, as James alluded to, it will in fact be very important to helping our planet recover and to reach net zero in the next few decades. Why? I don't think it's controversial, so only including one slide on this. I think we know why. The extractive industries are synonymous with the geosciences, not exclusive, as James alluded to. There are so many diverse areas to geosciences, but unfortunately, in the public's eye, remember, we need to understand our audience. In the public's eye, the extractive industries are synonymous, and therefore, if they have a bad reputation, we get tarnished with the same brush. What can we do about that? So it comes to the situation where you might have a few school children in a particular class saying, who cares about rocks? Or sorry, they might say, we really love rocks, but the majority of people, unfortunately, who cares about geology? This is the general consensus. I am generalizing, but it's a fair generalization, I think. Who cares about geology? It's just old, boring rocks, and it hurts the planet. Okay, so what do we say? What do we say about that? Well, I'll tell you what we say, because I've asked this in numerous webinars around the world, And these are the responses I've got. I've put together in the next slide the most common responses I get from a geologist about how they would answer that question. Who cares about geologists? It's just dirty. This is what we as a community say. Everything's built on geology. Are you a NIMBY? Not in my backyard. Oh, so you don't like the planet then? It's a key to a sustainable future. You appear to be confused. If it's not grown, it's mined. Okay. Well, what kind of geology are you talking about? Do you know where all the elements in your smartphone come from? Okay, I think we all recognize that. See a few smiles there, because it's true, right? We kind of like know are important, and I understand. I think that any geoscientist should know their importance, and I think most of us do. Okay, but how does this sound? Okay, how does this sound? I'll just leave it out there. Okay, I'm not going to give you my opinion right now, but how do these things sound? If somebody is ambivalent or possibly negative about geology, how does all this thing sound from their perspective, not our perspective? Remember, we have to do empathy here, hardcore empathy. How does this sound? Okay. Next up, social media. Okay, social media is simply word of mouth on steroids, essentially. That's what it is. And so what do? As scientists, we kind of use this. We use 3 echo chambers, which happen to have the poorest engagement rate of any social media platform. LinkedIn, we share posts about how important we are and what we're doing now, and next business venture, stuff like that. That's what LinkedIn's for, isn't it? Yeah. Twitter, again, an echo chamber, but the engagement rate is 0.08%. Engagement rate, if you're not aware, is the number of people who follow you compared to the number of those people who actually interact with your post. Yeah. So if you've got 100 followers, to keep the math simple, and only one person engages, then you have an engagement rate of 1%. So on Twitter, where we all talk to ourselves, we follow people who, we exchange ideas with people who are similar to us. Even then, it's 0.08% engagement rate, very, very bad. And Facebook is really for older generation. Okay, so my age, 40 plus, something like that. So if we're kind of trying to reach the next generation, yeah, because those are people who are actually going to come into our field, who we're trying to attract, what are we doing here? Why are we talking to ourselves? So we do that, we talk to ourselves, and again, this is how it comes across. This is what it seems to, from the outside. Remember, I'm trying to shift your mindset and help you emphasize that we need to understand, shift our position from and look at ourselves from the outside. What it looks like from the outside, in, for example, mining geology, is that we have a bunch of mining geologists congratulating me on a mining geologist about how important mining geology is, for example. That's not outreach, that's not communication, that's kind of internal communication. And in some ways it's useful because in fact, we know that there's quite a high turnover, especially amongst junior geologists in the mining industry. And so, emphasizing the importance of what they're doing could be a good way to retain the talent that we have, okay? But from the outside, it looks a little bit self-congratulatory, and that's not really the image we want to project. Instagram and TikTok, look at those engagement rates. That's a little bit more interesting. And that is where our target audience is. Where are we? Do we have Instagram and TikTok? Some of us do. I don't really like TikTok so much. I am on Instagram. It has a lot of powerful tools which you can engage the next generation. But that's where our key demographic is. If we want to inspire people to come into the geosciences who are not already in the job market, that's where we are. That's where they are. And that's where we should be, and we're not there. And why aren't we there? Is it because we're scared, or is it because we have prejudices against what these platforms stand for, or represent, or it's just a different tool that we just can't do that? It's just too much hard work. Not many people are actually doing anything there, and that's a problem. But the ones which are there, industries, for example, they kind of have to have Instagram. They do something like this. Okay. You probably know who this company is, but I won't bother to mention their names. It's currently done like this. It's color coordinated. Yeah, there's a good gender race balance. Happy employees, of course. And there's also, declarations of self-importance. You can see at the top here, 3 items you might not know contain copper. The world is going to need more supply of commodities. There's some interim dividend payments. So yeah, it's all about the money from the outside. Everybody like, oh, shareholders. That's all positive news. Okay. So from the outside, again, if a young person came across this, it would be like, well, this is a mining company telling everybody how important they are. They've got all this. They've spent a lot of money on this. Clearly, it's whitewash, and that is a problem. Okay, that is a big problem because I feel sorry for the company actually, because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they do, then, well, if they do this, they're going to do something, right? Then people are going to say, well, they would say that, wouldn't you? You're a mining company. I'm not going to believe you. Vested interest. But if they don't do it, that's not an option either. Okay. So, but they're not being very creative. Okay. There are ways that are around this, but I won't go into that today because I'm going to talk to you as individual geoscientists rather than company geoscientists. But they do the same thing as I mentioned before. For example, we do this. This is one Instagram post from the same company. We do this. You do that. Okay. The message is clear, right? What is the message? From the outside, remember, it's very important to remember, people are either ambivalent or hostile to the mining industry, and I don't think that is controversial. And this is particularly big in Australia, obviously, which is a big mining country. This is how we sound. We are important. You need us. You should be grateful. That is not the message that we want to put out to the public. We don't want people to feel like that, do we? And even the industry doesn't want people to feel like that. But given that people are hostile, especially the next generation, are ambivalent or hostile towards mining, we cannot actually continue to just sell the geosciences, or sell mining, or sell whatever area for the sake of that area or for the sake of the geosciences. We have to change our tune. We have to understand what people are interested in, as Mr. Johnson was saying, in order to hone our message. We have to accept this fact on the screen now in order to shape our communication strategies. If we don't, we're going to fail. Okay? So we need our common strategy from start to start and address, particularly to start from that negative perspective. It's fundamental. So what are we doing now? We obviously are doing outward facing. We're not only talking to ourselves, obviously. We do stuff, don't we? Go out to schools. This is what we do. Like crystallizing it, there's other things, there's a few other things to do. We take out rock collections now, we sandstones, there's a metamorphic. We talk about the power of the planet, right? Volcanoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, amazing things that inspire awe. We can get excited about it, young kids get excited about it. Dinosaurs, fossils, always a hit. The great outdoors, taking them out into the field. This is amazing. This is incredible. That's, but we have been doing that for quite a long time, haven't we? And I don't think it's enough anymore. Okay. And I'm going to be going into some more strategies on how we can actually use the modern era and the tools that we have available to actually make this more effective. If this had been enough, these kinds of things, we wouldn't be in the position we are now, I don't think. Okay, who likes the stuff? Who likes all this stuff here? What kind of demographic are we appealing to when we do this? I'll tell you, you like this stuff. Right? We like this stuff, don't we? With geosciences, of course, we love this stuff, right? So for the most part, it has to be said, our communication strategy has involved targeting people and young people who are like us. We don't want to do that anymore, okay? Especially because we know that we have a diminishing demographic that is interested in what we do. So we have to broaden our appeal. You can use the analogy of fruit on a tree. We're targeting ground fruit and maybe low-hanging fruit too. People like us, people who share our interests, who love volcanoes, who thinks it's fantastic, who love rocks. Okay? There's a whole issue we can go into here because you might argue, Haydon, toddlers and primary school children love collecting rocks. So my son does it all the time. You're absolutely right. Yeah, mine do too. And it's not because I'm a geologist. Something happens when they go to secondary school though, and they become more cynical about it. That's a different subject we can get into. But when we target and we want to try and attract young people into university, we do this, we use the same strategies we do for young people, and it doesn't seem to work. Okay, and I know that from experience too, lived experience, actually teaching at secondary school after I left academia. So the vast majority of the sweet, high-hanging fruit, yeah, the blackberries higher up the tree, the lorry going past my house, we don't go for those people. We kind of tend to go for people like us, ignoring the vast majority. That's a real shame, because I said this ground fruit is a lower and lower, it's diminishing in size. So it's smaller and smaller pickings. And that accounts, I believe, for why university admissions keep going down. Google Trends shows a continuous decline. The most cited back quote from my course, from the first iteration of my course, was this: it is the audience that decides what is interesting, not you. That is not to say that you shouldn't be enthusiastic. You have to be enthusiastic about it, otherwise people are going to think, he's bored, why should I be interested in it? Of course, but you do need to introduce your enthusiasm or your subject from the audience's perspective. Okay, we're going to talk about a little bit how to do that. That involves listening, and it's a fact that half of communication, if in conversation with somebody, half of that conversation is listening. If you don't listen, it's a terrible conversation and the other person gets alienated. That's lecturing. That's not communication. So, as they say, lecturing is not communication. Sorry if there's any lecturers out there, but it's a fact. Lecturing is very one-directional, okay? Listen, what do they care about? What are their interests? Fit your messaging around those issues. Now, those of you, if you are not familiar with social media, you might be thinking, how on earth can I do that? How do I know what people are interested in? How can I actually identify a particular subject which is kind of interesting? How can I use that to generate my messages? Well, I'll give you some examples now. How can we do this? I'm going to put 4 tools on the screen now. Okay, they're just 4 tools. There are many, many more. Okay, and I will show you how you can possibly go about this. First of all, on the top left here, toys. What are the major trends? You want to target children? Toys, great. Okay, there's some new trends in 2020, 2022. The next big toys in the market, you can research that. Go to Google Trends, see what the world is actually searching for right now. There are lots of powerful filters. You can see what a general, and you can sort by country, region, even more granular down to city. You can actually see what people are thinking about almost in real time right now, but also filtered over the last 7 days, 1 month, 1 year, what they're interested in. And then think about how that's interesting. So I could actually create some content around that idea. Yeah? Because I know that people are going to pay attention to that because they are personally interested in it. Okay? If you're going to use hashtags, okay, don't just put some general hashtags that you think that I would click on. Go to something like hashtaggenerator.com. It's completely free. And you can actually put in a keyword. So I'm going to put some hashtags about geology. Put in geology here and click top hashtag, click generate, and then it'll actually generate the top hashtags people are looking for with regards to geology. Make sure you use those, not your self-imagined importance with regards to hashtags. If you don't know what hashtags are, I'll do my course, okay? But they're basically anchors which people look for when searching for content on social media. Or you could reverse engineer your content. You could say, well, okay, I don't really care what I'm interested in so much. Fantastic, paying attention. What about what are people actually looking for? What are the top 100 hashtags? You can do that for today, the last 7 days, last month, full time. Choose what you want as the last 7 days. And then you can actually look at these hashtags. Well, this is what people are looking for right now. Hundreds of millions, billions of people. The top one right now is beauty. Oh, okay, fair enough. Sounds a little bit materialistic, but if that's what people are going for, what can I do about it? I'm just going to quick zoom into these top 100 hashtags here and see what we can do. So you can do this. There's no excuse. You can actually find out what people are interested in and create content around it. How many of these hashtags could you use? Could you reverse engineer to become relevant to the geosciences? Okay, maybe I'll give you a few seconds to look at these hashtags: beauty, lifestyle, girls, friends, TBT, Throwback Thursday for anyone who's not familiar with social media. Some people are nodding their heads. Yeah, it's good. So have a look at those. I did this very, very quickly a couple of days ago, actually, and I starred some of these hashtags that I knew that I could easily, what we call geologize, and I named my company after this process of geologizing that I used to do on social media. I would take something as far away, removed from geology as possible, and I slam it together with geology, and I would kind of create this amazing flowering content people really liked. So anyway, yeah, so this is what I did. I kind of starred these. You're probably thinking, Haydon, how on earth can you geologize beauty? Pretty easy, you know. I mean, people put it on their, what they put on their foundation. It's mostly clay, okay? Clay is, you know, kaolinite. It's derived from, you know, the erosion of granite. Okay, you could easily do a very cool social media piece about how you're actually putting rocks on your face. That's pretty cool. Lifestyle, okay, geology, lifestyle, geologist out in the field, that is a lifestyle thing. There are kind of loads of things that you can do. Geology, we're kind of blessed because the geoscience is a very visual field. You've got spectacular images of the planet, and Instagram was made for beautiful photos. And there's just so many of those in our field. Okay, so if you're going to inspire people, I mean, video is the way to go nowadays, but there's so much lovely content out there. You probably have some amazing pictures. If you can get people into it, you can easily make an inspiring Instagram profile, which could get hundreds of thousands of people following you. And just if a small proportion of those actually decide, you know what, I want to go to the geosciences. This is really cool. You know, that makes a difference. That's just one profile. Now, if we could do this en masse, get a significant number of geoscientists trained to be able to do this properly and effectively, tweaking it and understanding what the audience likes by using the tools available to them, then you suddenly start to have the potential impetus to gradually shift society's perception. This is what social media, this is the possibility that social media offers us. Then there's virtual reality and AI, and I push this out there, and this is completely new, relatively new to me. I'm certainly not an expert in this, but I did actually, I actually used an Oculus Quest from Meta, now we used to be Facebook, before Christmas, and I used an app for it, and it blew me away because the app allowed me to actually go to the Grand Canyon, go to the Wave in Australia, and it's called Brink. So it's they're not paying me to say this, by the way. I just think this is an incredible app that you can use. This is the kind of immersive experience which kids love. You know, when they do something like this, you have the tools. You can actually do research almost. Look at this. I mean, you can move around. It detects your hands. You've got a compass. You can take notes. You can move around all the way to the rock face and actually see the laminations in the rock. Okay. Now this is so immersive and cool that even kids love to do it. They're going to these gorgeous places that they probably never do. And it comes to my mind frequently that actually, you know, people in a wheelchair, for example, who would never hope to go to some of these inaccessible places like this, this also plays to inclusivity too. And this opens up our field to a whole new demographic that we should be appealing to. Okay, not just able-bodied geologists who can be trotting around. But it really is. I mean, seriously, you can literally walk up to this rock face and look at it, and even you can pick up rocks and analyze them. But this is absolutely insane, and kids love it. And so maybe we should be working, especially the big players, big industry players, can make amazing content like this at a tiny fraction of their profits, and it would have an enormous impact on the public perception. It really would, because VR and AR, it is the next big thing. We need to be thinking what's coming on the horizon. Okay, this is really important. So think, Also, just another idea. This is mostly about solutions, this talk. So what normally consumes the public's attention? Okay, well, it's the diversity of the human experience. If you think about it, you don't have to go onto these platforms which show you what people are thinking. You can think to yourself, when I'm not a geologist, when I've got that hat on, what do I enjoy, or what do I think about? It could be religion, healthcare, music, kids, social inequality, it could be beer, celebrities, politics, TV shows, study, it could be any of these things. So you can take these things, right? You could take music, for example, and then you could do something about the geosciences related to music. How? Well, there are loads of frequencies in the geoscience. This requires a little bit of lateral thinking that you learn in my course. Again, I'm plugging it, and I'm not making any money out of it because it's free, guys. And remember, if you're not a GSA member, you need to become one. You need to do it's important because this reverse engineering process, we're not trained to do that as geoscientists. But if we're going to get into the brain, we're going to get past the hippocampus, get past the basal ganglia, which determines whether something is remembered or not, we need to actually appeal to the interests of our audience. Music is a huge one. There are lots of frequencies in nature, such as Milankovitch cycles, and you can actually create music with Milankovitch cycles, believe it or not. That's really, really cool. Religion, okay, if you're not afraid of treading on toes, parting of the Red Sea, okay, burning bush, all these kinds of things have geoscientific explanations, which have been published. Politics, okay, you get the idea. Now, I bring these up particularly because I actually have done all of them and quite a lot more. So, you know, wine, miracle, Shakespeare, geologizing a roundabout for kids, and that kind of stuff. That was about the Coriolis effect, by the way. Now, the reason why these things went viral and got great engagement is because people immediately had a relationship to it before they even watched the video. Yeah? Before they even looked at the content, they thought, huh, I love fruit pastels. Oh, wow, I love Shakespeare. Not me personally, but I know that many people, more people like Shakespeare than probably like geology, right? Kids, roundabout, Donald Trump, you either love him or you hate him, latter category. But I know that Donald Trump carries an emotional reaction to most people, whether it's positive or negative. I can piggyback onto that reaction to actually make an amazing story about how geology gave him the presidency. Yeah, it takes quite a lot of work, quite a lot of reverse engineering and research, but it turned out to be a really big hit. Okay, now this is a huge subject. Okay, storytelling, as James said, massive thing that we need to work on. But these are just some of what I've just talked about are just some ways you can actually more effectively reach and engage the public, but it's always based on empathy and understanding what the audience is interested in. But there are many other things. What else needs to change? Okay, we talked about empathizing, listening, being better equipped on social media. I haven't talked about geoparks and geotourism as a tool to engage the public. And there are many ways that they aren't doing a very good job at the moment, and they can do a much better job. Communicate with Indigenous communities, as I alluded to before. I have an Indigenous geologist actually coming on to the next version of the course, who's going to be doing a guest module on that. And we need to, and I think going into the other side over here, this is changing things up a little bit. I think we do need to, provide more awards or incentivize outreach by students and academics and professionals. And if you want to do it as an academic, you should get, I think departmental ranking, for example, should include an element of public engagement, for example. If you're a professional geologist working on a mine site, for example, I think the company should have a system in place which facilitates you if you want to communicate with the public rather than being drowned in bureaucracy and legal threats. And I think that we need to be more inclusive, certainly in attracting geoscience profession, and I hope Melanie finishes here today. I know she's doing an awesome job in diversifying the field and getting a better gender balance. So yeah, it's a very big field, and it's a very big subject. And again, very quickly, there's the address if you are not a member, training.geologize.org/courses/GSA. It's free, it's on demand, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have time to do it. Just do it in your own time. And it's endorsed and accredited, and you get a certificate. So really, please take advantage of this and become a member of the GSA if you're not. Okay. Oh, Melanie's pictures just disappeared. I don't believe this. Why has that happened? Okay, Melanie Finch's face should have appeared here because she is, she had this quote, the onus is on all of us. And that's why, as individual geoscientists, I want to appeal to everyone that to heed Melody's words. I mean, we all have an obligation. No, it's almost an ethical. There is an area called geoethics. I think we have an obligation to communicate our science. Now, I'm not saying if you're shy or you don't like to communicate, I'm not saying you have to communicate this, just otherwise you're being unethical. No, I think we just need to be more aware of it as a subject. And if we need to communicate, we need to do it effectively. And those of you who want to communicate with the public, I think that training should be there for you to help you, so that we're not repeating past mistakes and only appealing to a diminishing number of ground fruit, the low-hanging fruit, which is in society. Okay, and that means it's a collective effort. It's a collective effort to shift the public's mood, and which is so important to reaching a more sustainable future, and getting that talent pipeline going so we can reach net zero in the future. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop there. I don't know if there's anybody else who is any other panel. We're going to open this up to discussion now, but thank you very much.